You ever feel that pull between two completely different ways of living? I mean, on one hand, you have this life that's like a wildfire, all these intense, unforgettable moments. And on the other, there's a life that's more like a steady, warming sun. Well, today, that's exactly what we're digging into. This fundamental tension, this choice between a life of consumption and a life of internal energy. Let's get right into it.
The source material has this perfect name for the allure of just taking whatever you want. It calls it the Siren song of our experience. And that's so spot on, right? It's this powerful, almost mythical temptation that promises nonstop excitement. And, it kind of whispers in your ear that if you resist, you're choosing a life of boredom. It's a pull that is really, really hard to ignore.
So let's just get the terms straight here. You've got two paths. On one side, there's what's called infinite lust. This is the life defined by pure intensity, by consuming experiences, and by constantly chasing that perfect 10 out of 10 high. Then, on the other side, you've got infinite energy. This is a life built on stability, on generating your own contentment from the inside, which leads to this slow, steady rise. Two very, very different ways to live.
Now look, to really understand this choice, we can't just write off the lust path as bad. That's too easy. We have to be brutally honest about why it's so appealing. We have to really get what someone is sacrificing when they choose restraint. When they choose that path of energy, what are they actually giving up?
The source material actually breaks this down into 4 super raw, very human experiences. These are the things you supposedly miss out on when you decide to live a more stable life. And I gotta say, they have a certain dark glamour to them. So let's take a look at them, one by one.
So the first thing you apparently sacrifice if you choose stability is
You miss out on what's called the animal peak. And this is exactly what it sounds like. It's that moment of pure, unfiltered sensory overload, that feeling of total, absolute surrender to an impulse, with zero thought about what comes next. It's totally primal.
Think of it like this. It's the rock star moment. It's that explosive, completely uncalculated peak that people who live these so-called balanced lives will probably never, ever feel. It's the thrill of just completely abandoning tomorrow for the raw electric feeling of right now.
All right, number 2. This one is all about the story you give up telling. And it's a very specific and, let's be honest, a very seductive kind of story.
You miss out on the rogue narrative. See, a life of steady energy, that tells a story of slow growth, of building a legacy. But a life of lust? Whoa, that's a whole different book. That's a story filled with scandal, with chaos, and with unforgettable, wild intensity.
And there's a certain romance to that, isn't there? The person who lived with no breaks at all. When you choose discipline, you lose the chance to see just how far down that rabbit hole really goes. You miss out on the kinds of stories that people only tell in whispers.
Okay, the third sacrifice. This one is all about the absolute thrill of the new.
You miss the first-time novelty spike. See, lust is fueled by what's new and different. So this path keeps you in this perpetual state of the chase. You're always seeking that chemical hit that only comes from the unknown. It's a life of, let's call it, horizontal variety, not vertical depth.
I mean, think about it. The source describes this as the thrill of having 50 different lovers, or living in 10 different countries, or having 5 different career crashes. It's that constant, relentless pursuit of that shiver that you only get from a new face, a new city, or a brand new, crazy risk.
And finally, number 4. And honestly, this might just be the most seductive temptation of them all.
It's what's called the ego's main character delusion. We've all felt it, right? There is this massive, intoxicating ego boost that comes from simply taking whatever you want whenever you want it. It makes you feel like the entire world is just a vending machine, and you're the only one with the key. You miss out on that hollow, for sure, but very, very addictive feeling of being a god of consumption.
Okay, so we've acknowledged the allure, the animal peak, the rogue story, the constant novelty, the massive ego trip. I mean, it's a powerful cocktail. But now we have to make the pivot. We have to go from the temptation to the cold, clinical reality. Because there is a hidden cost to this wildfire.
So here's the crucial question. If the stable path is supposedly better, why does giving all that up feel like such a loss? Why does choosing it sometimes feel like you're grieving something important? Well, the source gives this feeling a name, and I think this is just fascinating. It's called anticipatory grief. It's almost like a FOMO for your own unlived lives. You're genuinely mourning the potential versions of yourself that you'll never get to meet. The wild one, the rogue, the thrill seeker that lives in the red zone. And that feeling, it's totally real. But it's so important to contrast that grief with the clinical reality of where that path actually leads.
So now, let's just put them side by side. Let's forget the romance and the glamour for a second and just look at the long-term outcomes. The wildfire versus the sun. The path of lust versus the path of energy.
This slide just makes the trade-off crystal clear. Okay, look at the first row. Experience. The lust path gives you those incredible high peaks, sure, but they come with deep, absolutely crushing valleys. The energy path, on the other hand, it just offers this steady elevation. Now this next row, sensation, this is absolutely crucial. With lust, you get what's called receptor burnout. Your dopamine receptors, they basically get fried. A 10 out of 10 experience eventually starts to feel like a 4 because you need more and more stimulation just to feel anything. But with energy, your senses become refined. A simple walk in the park, a great conversation, these little 4 out of 10 experiences can start to feel like a 9. You appreciate more with less. And maybe most importantly, less turns you into a ghost, always hungry, always chasing the next hit. But energy, it turns you into a generator. You become the source of your own contentment.
So, this brings us to the final verdict, doesn't it? The ultimate choice we all face between being a consumer and being a generator, between being a destructive fire and being a steady light.
And here it is. By choosing the path of energy, yeah, you miss out on some of that blood and thunder of the ego running wild. But the ultimate price for chasing the fire isn't paid at the beginning of the journey. It's paid at the very, very end when the person who consumed everything realizes they have nothing left inside, not even the ability to feel.
I really want to leave you with this final thought from the source because I think it captures the entire idea so perfectly. By choosing to miss out on being the fire, you keep the ability to be the light.
And so that's the question this whole explainer really leaves us with. It's not about judgment, it's just about awareness. In our own lives, with our own day-to-day choices, are we chasing the temporary heat of the fire, or are we building the lasting warmth of the light? It's something I'll definitely be thinking about. I hope you will too. Thanks for joining me.